Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 184. This week's chapter was pretty crazy for, I'd say, two big reasons. The first of which is we get the reveal of Panda's sister corps, finally. When did we get the initial name drop for sister corps? That was, I think more than 140 chapters ago. It was a long time ago, so this is something we've been building to for a very long time. First thing, it's weird. It's really goddamn weird. I think it's like a rhinoceros or something. I'm not really sure. It's got a really humanoid body, a humanoid female body, and then just a gigantic head that has 3 horns on it and massive eyes. It's really ugly. I don't know if I'd say it's a good design. It's certainly a weird design. Now we don't find out what the sister corps does, but Panda says that she's very shy and that she'll kill anyone who meets her eyes. Also, having a really big head and small body, to me, suggests some kind of ranged powers. Maybe psychic powers, I don't know. It's probably some kind of cursed energy conduit or something. Something of that nature. Now, the reason we don't find out this chapter is because of the other really big important thing this chapter. Kashimo's in it. Yeah. Now, I don't know if it was just me. I saw a lot of people who were really shocked that we cut away from the Hakari stuff to go over to Panda and Kashimo. Like, they thought the Hakari and Charles fight was continuing. I saw that double-page spread last week, and I was like, oh, the fight's over. We're going over to Panda next chapter. I don't know if that was just me or something. Kashimo's here, and as we all know, Kashimo was one of the 2 people that our protagonists were going to go after in order to try and convince them to make rule changes or give them their points to make rule changes. The only other one was Higuruma, who had, 102 points? Something like that. But keep in mind, Kashimo only had a little bit over 100 points at the time. Before that, he actually had about 200 points. So he's gathered the most points out of any new player we've met. The only person who's gathered as many by now is Yuta. Yuta currently has more than him, but that's due to him being given points by Ryu and Uro. Kashimo's collected those points himself, so the 2 things we garnered from that is, 1, this guy really likes killing people. A lot. The other thing is that he's really goddamn strong, because it seems like probably the only ones he's been killing have been sorcerers, because he's not really interested in normal people. Like, there's no challenge. He has no interest in just killing random civilians. So we get a little bit of a glimpse into Kashimo's power this chapter, and whoo boy, this guy is absolutely cracked. He attacks Panda faster than Panda can react. Kashimo uses his Kogane to identify Panda as a player, and before Panda has even processed the fact that you can use Kogane to identify other players, Kashimo's already attacked him. Then we have Kashimo's durability. This guy gets hit by unblockable drumming beat, and it's just like, oh, that's cool, not bad. His internal organs are being hit with pretty serious impact, and he's just like, damn, that's crazy. Anyway. So, the man is both incredibly fast and incredibly durable, which is a very, very important combination to have. It doesn't matter if you're really fast. If you can't take a hit, all it's going to take is 1 hit and you're done. That's basically what Naoya was. He was fast as fuck, one of the fastest characters in the series, but the guy couldn't really take a hit. I mean, the times he got hit were very powerful attacks. He got hit with Supernova, and then he got punched by Maki. But still, he pretty much got one-shotted just about every single time in both of his fights. I'm pretty sure he got one-shotted in both of those fights. Like, as soon as he got hit with something, it was over. Whereas Kashimo's been hit with something that absolutely ruined Mechamaru's puppet, and he's just not affected by it. And then proceeds to rip Panda's arm off in his gorilla mode. Like, just without skipping a beat after getting hit, he does that. It's incredibly impressive. And the last really important thing is the nature of Kashimo's cursed energy. It's electrified. The guy's got an electric aura. This is the second person we've been introduced to who has unique cursed energy, the first, of course, being Hakari. So, you know, more setup for them fighting each other. That's obviously going to start within the next few chapters. We'll talk about how I think that would go once I'm done talking about Kashimo. His cursed energy has the properties of electricity, and his body is always electrified. So pretty much everything he does has like an electric damage boost. He hits Panda with an attack at the end of the chapter, where he pretty much just uses the properties of his cursed energy to shoot a lightning bolt at Panda, and it absolutely annihilates the Sister Corps. Sister Corps jobs. Sad, I know, a lot of people, when they were looking at the lineup of Jujutsu students going into the Culling Games, and they were like, alright, one of these people at least has to lose their fight, so there's some kind of stakes. It's Panda. Panda's gonna lose his fight. That was just everyone's like, listen, Yuji, Megumi, Hakari, Yuta's already in there. These people aren't losing their fights. They're too important, and they're all pretty strong. Panda, I'm afraid, my boy, you're the one who's going to be victim to the Wharf effect this time around. And lo and behold, he was. I don't think this is the end for Panda. We don't get a point count. Panda's obviously not dead. This is just the reveal for the appearance of Sister Corps. I think it's going to be relevant later. It could even end up being relevant in this fight if Panda tries helping Hakari. I imagine it could be relevant. This is more so just the design reveal for Sister Corps. We're going to find out what its exact power is later. I mean, we've had stuff like this. That was basically what happened with Hakari's technique. Is we saw the train doors, like, 9 months ago? And we were like, what the fuck is that? And then didn't get any answers until, like, a week ago. So, yeah, I think it's a case of something like that. Once again, it happens. But I feel like the most insane thing about this is that Kashimo didn't even really use a curse technique. He just used the properties of his cursed energy to shoot a lightning bolt. There was no technique involved. So he was able to low diff Panda without even using a technique. This guy is absolutely fucking monstrous. Once again, I said this about Ryu and the members of the Sendai colony. Stuff like this is why I haven't done an updated top 10 strongest characters list. Is because pretty much every part of the Culling game that we get to, we are getting at least one new character who would be in the top 10, and then like a week after uploading my video, people would be like, hey, why isn't so-and-so on the list? Because this is now already outdated. So I'm gonna have to probably wait until the Culling game is over to do a top 10 list. So we have no idea what the exact limits of Kashimo's power are. It's just safe to assume he has a very high ceiling. This guy is definitely somewhere in the top 10. I'd go so far as to say he's maybe S tier, which I haven't said in a while. If I said Ryu's S tier, I don't remember. I mean, I said Ryu was top 10, but I have people in the top 10 that are in S tier, because there aren't 10 people in S tier. But, I think Kashimo may be up there. His speed, his durability, and his attack power are an extremely formidable combination. There are a lot of characters that cannot beat Kashimo just based on like this very short showing we've had thus far. And I imagine when he gets to fighting Hakari, we're going to have an even better idea of what a goddamn monster this guy is. Speaking of, how do I think his fight with Hakari is going to turn out? But before I get into that, I might as well give a shout out to my wonderful patrons. Special thanks to Archbear CJ2K, Neo, Dijon Redden, K-God, Chris Redfield, Rat, Ryzen 4K, Artist, Wave of Manga, Sam the Ace, Chuck Speed and Seed, Jigster EZ, Play Free Labs, Kanichi Kaneda, Strawbones, Neverest, Daniel Powell, Brandon Smith, Abdullah Al-Gathi, Charles C. Highland, and Corey Richardson. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And if you too want to get a shout out at some point during videos, or early and exclusive access to content, you can always become a patron as well. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Before we really knew anything about either fighter, my base assumption was that, oh yeah, Hakari totally wins this fight with Kashimo. You know, we need to have a good idea of how strong Hakari is. Kashimo is seemingly very powerful, so he makes for a pretty solid opponent for Hakari to really show everything he has. Now I'm not so sure, because we just got like a showing of Hakari pretty much low-diffing someone with his domain expansion. You know, Pachinko is strong. But I think this is a case of compatibility. Kashimo is a really bad matchup for Hakari. The primary reason being, Hakari has to wait to get his boosts. Even if he gets jackpot on the first roll, he still has to wait like a few seconds to get his jackpot. Kashimo is not going to give him a few seconds. Unless Hakari is like, hey, do you mind waiting a few seconds for me to get a power-up? And Kashimo, wanting to fight strong people, is like, yeah, sure, whatever, that's fine. Which may actually happen, since we know Kashimo wants to fight strong people. That's presumably why he wants to find Sukuna. So that's like the one ray of hope for Hakari. Alternatively, if Kashimo's like, I don't have time for you, get the fuck out of my way, Hakari is gonna be taking a beating while he waits for his jackpots. The best case scenario is he only has to for a few seconds until he gets his jackpot. But if he doesn't win on the first try, that's really bad. And if it's one of those situations where he doesn't hit it until the 30th try, he's probably already dead. He's probably already been absolutely obliterated by that point. Kashimo being such a speed fighter is a terrible matchup for someone who has to wait to get an increase to their power in order to compete with someone that's as powerful as Kashimo. So I'm now actually finding it more likely than not that Kashimo may actually beat Hakari, which was not something I had totally thought was impossible, but I had thought that basically Hakari's first fight would be against Kashimo and he would lose, and then he'd get a rematch where we can see Hakari when he's on a roll. And that may actually still happen. As Hakari and Kashimo fight, Hakari gets his ass beat, and then they have a rematch later that Hakari wins. So we may actually get more than one fight between Hakari and Kashimo. Should be very interesting to see how it turns out. If Kashimo defeats Hakari, we actually have the possibility of him fighting Sukuna later, because that seems to be what he wants to go and do. And I'm not totally opposed to that, because, well, I don't mind seeing Sukuna beat someone up again. It'd be interesting to see how Kashimo scales to Jogo. Assuming Sukuna hasn't gotten any more fingers yet, maybe Kashimo wants to help him find more fingers, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how Kashimo stacks up to Jogo. Right now, based on, like, sheer speed, I'd say he's actually probably comparable to Jogo, which is pretty terrifying, because that puts him pretty solidly in the top 10, like the 7th or 8th position. He's busted. This guy's really fucking strong. If he has a domain expansion, it's over. It's all over. But anyway, what did you guys think of this week's chapter, and what do you think's going to happen next week? Is Hakari going to show up to try and save Panda? How is the fight between him and Kashimo going to get started? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I'd like to hear what you guys think. So with that, that's all for this week's review. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Jujutsu Kaisen chapter reactions and reviews every week. If you enjoy discussing Jujutsu Kaisen with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce in this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.